Hi everyone. It's been quite the ride the last while, hasn't it? The things that are happening in society weigh heavily on everyone. There's a lot of question marks, a lot of uncertainties in life. And that really makes you think about your future and what the future is going to look like, especially if you have children. Even if you don't have children, what is your future going to look like? It's pretty insane when you think about it. There's so much uncertainty, so much half truth, so much things that you hear that you have to shake your head at. And it weighs heavily on all of us. All you can really do is focus on what is happening today, right now. And just every day try to be as happy and to be the best person you can be today. Tomorrow, same thing. Look at what you can do to change yourself. Not somebody else, or don't worry about what might happen in Russia, what might happen in China. Simply worry about what's happening right now in your own life. If you have the capability of having an effect, then act on it. If you do not, simply just be as the best person you can be. It's a very interesting time. There's a lot of people get swept up and get lost and have a really hard time finding a way back out. You have to find your way back out. You have to be the one to stand back up, wipe yourself off, and simply just be the best person you can be right now. That is probably some of the best advice I can give you in this moment. You are the master of everything that happens in your own life. You're the one that can control everything in your spiritual, physical life, like nobody else can. People can influence it, but ultimately how you react and what you do makes you who you are. So we can't blame other people for what our own mishaps, the things that we create. We're not in control of every part of our life, but what we are in control of is what we do and how we react. And that is the most important thing, because that you can't be blamed for something you had no control over. You can't be held responsible for something you have no control over. And if you are, you still simply be the best person you can be under the situation that you're in, because that is what spirit sees. They see through the lies. They see through the misinformation. They see the truth. And if somebody is lying and manipulating, they will see that. And that is what's important, to understand that. If you choose to hurt someone, that is on you. If somebody tells you to hurt someone else and you do it, that's on you. Saying no is on you. Sometimes we're in situations that have an impossible decision. Simply make it on love, respect, as much as possible. It's one of the hardest things to do at times. You find yourself wrapped up in a chaotic world that makes no sense. Stand up for what you believe in, but do it right. Chaos will destroy, tear apart, break down. And that's a tactic that has been used for thousands and thousands of years. The problem is if you fall into the chaos, you'll become chaos itself. And everything that you worked up to this point will fall apart. It's really disheartening to see people fall. That's when you try to help them come back. Try to guide them to make the right decisions. But guide, don't force. Because you can't force somebody to change their mind unless they want to. Wanting to change is the only way change can happen. If you force change, it's not really change. It's a Band-Aid that can be tore off at any time. You could say that if you force, you could say like a dam, for instance, and you patch it with holes, with temporary patches. Eventually those patches will let go and the dam will break. A person forced to do something that they do not choose to do will eventually break. The world is at that point right now where anything can happen. That could be a chain reaction that will completely take over everything in your life. And you have to try to rise above that wave. That's all you can do. Because everything that happens in your life is not controlled by you. And I can say this over and over and over again, but the most important thing to understand is that you are in control, no one else. And I had a question that came up recently in one of my sessions about if somebody heals you or somebody does a clearing on you, removes something from you, is it real? Does it work? It is a very complex thing. And because it's not simply just me that's doing the healing or the other, it's also the other person and how they respond to it. Are they in acceptance of it? Do they believe? I always like to use the analogy that if you have learned how to do something, like you learn how to ride a bike, very straightforward. If you learn to live with suffering, it's the same thing. You have to be willing and ready to let it go. Otherwise, you'll just bring the suffering back into yourself. You cannot forget how to ride a bike easily, can you? And it's the same type of analogy. If you've lived your life with pain and suffering, and you learn to like it in some way, it doesn't mean you like it in your own, in your own life. You might hate it. You might want to just let it end. But there's parts of your soul that have learned to cope with it and learn to be familiar with it. So when you do a clearing or a healing on someone, you have to be the one to work at it as well. You can't go and everything gets better. It's a combination of me working with you and you working with me and you believing in what is happening, but also you changing the things that caused it in the first place. So a lot of the times when for instance, I do a journey, it brings to light what is causing it. You might not completely understand it, but your soul does. So you stating an affirmation, the saying that I understand, is healed, I let go of it, I do not want to bring it back into my life, helps a lot. Because if you do not choose to accept it, it will not work in the way that it was intended to. Another simple analogy is if you are eating too much, or you're eating a type of food that's bad for you. For instance, some type of foods, including myself, I eat, probably shouldn't. And some food reacts differently to each person. So if you eat a food that makes you fat or overweight, and you continue to eat it, and you complain that you're overweight, you have really nobody to blame except yourself, because you know if you stop that food and stop eating that food, you will lose weight. But the problem is, it's not that easy, is it? When you have learned to love something, it's hard to let it go, even though it's bad for you. It's the same thing when you do healing and clearing on someone. So it's complex. But working together is how you overcome it. You can't simply just snap your fingers and it's gone. It might, and it can, but that's because you already were ready to let it go. You already were, say, working with this energy long enough to know and have tried multiple times, or it's on the last verge or last stage of letting it go. It's a journey into life lessons and letting things go. And another topic, slightly different. I'm changing the topic entirely into learning how to be a journeyer, learning how to be a person that does that type of thing, goes inside themselves, projects their consciousness, or in some rare occasions, people can actually project their souls or spirits to someone else. That is a whole nother level, and that is not that common. When you reach that ability, how do you get there? How do you become a journeyer? You just don't go, oh, one lesson, that's it. I shouldn't. If I don't, I give it up. I can't do it. I kind of look at that as like, it's kind of ridiculous to think that way, but a lot of people do. Because a lot of people don't have the patience or just want something done right now. I want to learn it now. It should be easy. Why can't I do it? It can take years of study and trying in order to be able to accomplish it. You can't become a physician overnight. You can't learn how to do brain surgery just by simply taking one class. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes practice. It also takes time based on your acceptance and your belief in what you're doing. When you start down this type of journey into that spiritual, you become spiritual awakened, you could say. That's only part of it. You have to be spiritual awakened in order to be even able to do journeys, or at least understand how you're doing them. And then it grows and it constantly changes. When you learn to do a journey, it's not simply just you do a journey and that's it. You always do it the same way all the time. You can. But that's a discipline. You could say that Reiki is a discipline. You could say that shamanism is a discipline. You learn to do it a specific way and you get better and better and better at it. When you do journeying, the stuff that I do, which is close to shamanism, but I'm not a shaman. I've never took the time and the years of practice in that field. I've practiced shamanism in my own way. And you could say I am a master of what I do. I don't like to use the word master because that's not realistic, because everyone is equal. No one is above anyone else. But it's used to understand the complexities of what I do. I worked with shamans, and they taught me that I need to go within myself in order to be able to do what I do the way I'm supposed to do it. And not all people are meant to do that. Some people are meant to be Reiki masters and some people are meant to be shamans. So they actually are guided to that field and they spend their whole life doing it, which is amazing. But not everyone is called to do that. I was called to do exactly what I do the way I do it. And many shamans have told me the same thing. They were told by their spirit guides that I need to do it my own way. And I was taught by my spirit guides for many years. It wasn't just bang. Years and years and years and years and years of practice. I used to do journeys almost every waking moment I could. Obviously, everybody's busy. I used to do journeys 7 hours at one time, a session when I could. But again, life gets in the way, especially in the last so many years. It's really difficult to find the time to practice. But every time you do it, you get better at it and better. If you take breaks, you might lose the visionary aspect of it, but the connection is always there. It never goes away. Once you open the door, you heard that before, you can't shut it the same way you could before. But you constantly learn and change. The way I do journeys now is nothing like I did when I first started. It's similar, but as you do journeys, you remember aspects of what and who you are and how you do things. Your soul activates parts of your physical memory in order for you to remember, and your soul remembers, and you start to get more advanced, you could say, in how you do it. But it takes years of practice, and Neo is back there being very patient. Neo's my dog. So that's important to understand those things. Be patient with yourself. And the worst, most destructive thing that you could ever do is second guess yourself. We all go through that. We all go through the second guessing. It's normal in an evolutionary process of learning how to do this type of work. You'll hear things that are absolutely unbelievable. It's a test to see how you react to it. Some people fail that test and become, I am the second coming of Christ, or I am Isis. I am Ra. You are who you are in this physical world. Doesn't matter what you are as a spirit. In this physical world, you are simply yourself. When you believe that, and you understand that, you let all the other stuff go, and you're simply a human being having a human experience. It doesn't matter if you're an alien being from the Pleiades, Andromeda. Doesn't matter. You are a physical being living a physical reality. Right now, that's who you are. So you need to embrace who you are in order for you to understand what it is you're meant to do. Because if you think you want to go to the stars, I just want to leave this place, then you're losing the point of why you came here in the first place. To have a human experience, to have a purpose, to be here, to learn, to grow, to discover things that you, or access things that you couldn't do in the spirit realm. And this physical reality is a slowed down version of the spirit realm. So you have access to the lower realms and the higher realms simultaneously, which you don't necessarily have when you're spirit. Not all beings have the access that we have. It's important to understand what it is you're here to do. You might not like living a human experience, but you're here. You need to embrace it. When you embrace it, it starts to open doorways into what it is you're meant to do. It's acceptance of what it is and who you are helps you become the person you're meant to be. And I understand how hard that can be. I understand that. Your soul is extraordinary. You can do extraordinary things in a journey state. It's almost limitless. Your limitations in the journey state is what you put on yourself. Once you understand to let go of your physical ego, so your higher self or your guides will help you, guide you through the experience you're meant to do in a journey state, you are unlimited in energy and power. It's extraordinary. We are extraordinary. But in a physical reality, in our physical bodies, we are limited to what we can do. But we're not as limited as you think we are. It's a complex conversation, and I think it's important to have these discussions. I love talking one-on-one. Videos, not my favorite thing. As you notice, I don't post as many as I should. And I know I could post a lot more videos. I would prefer to have conversations in person. Can't stand the phone either. Phone's worse than having a video conversation. I love the energies that you feel from other people, the emotions, the body language, the passion of the conversation. I wish more people would talk to each other. Sit down with friends and just talk about what's important in life. Not just simply be on your phones and the most, the first thing that pops up on your phone. The games that you play, the social media platforms that you use. I miss good conversation with many people. It's important, guys and ladies. It's important to never forget to have that conversation with your friends and family, strangers. I used to meet strangers all the time, and my conversation always spins to a spiritual one. It's just who I am. But I also love science. I love science. It's one of my favorite topics as well. There's a lot of very smart people in the world. If we stop talking, we stop learning. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And I promise my next video won't be as long. And Neo is always good, like usual. Neo! There he is, right there. He is a good boy. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.